Hello, my friends. My name is Sandy, and this video is going to walk us through my beautiful gallery 16 card workshop. So if you get my kit, you get the 16 card bases, 16 envelopes filled with the stuff you need for each one of the cards, a roll of the Petal pink and white 1/4 inch diagonal trim, and some pieces. So these pieces, on one of them, you're going to do some stamping. Well, on all of them, most of them, you're going to do some stamping. You're not going to stamp on the trees. So the trees we can set aside. These ones are all going to get your sentiments, these ones here. And then you've got a white piece that you are going to stamp a couple of circles, some hearts, and two banners. So a brown circle and a brown banner, a black circle and a black banner. Same thing with the hearts, one in each. Then a dark blue circle and a light orangish circle. That's what you need to get stamped, plus all of your words. So you can do your words any way you want. What I used was, so the three stamp sets, well, two stamp sets that I used. Scenic Adventure, which has some beautiful sayings, and I love those trees, and the clouds are awesome. Then I also used the month by month alphabet and the month by month that came with Album Retreat 2025. So if you're coming over to make these cards, then you can just use my stamps. If you're stamping at home, I'm sure you've got sentiments that would work great. The main thing is that the papers are gorgeous, right? Um, so the first thing you're going to do is take out this piece, and you need a spray bottle, and you're going to get this paper wet and crumple it right up. So I've gotten it wet and I crumpled it up into a little ball. Ooh, and I've even ripped it a little bit. And now I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit, not too much, but enough that it's going to fit back on the paper the way I want it to. And we're just going to set that aside. And then take that first envelope and put it on the bottom, and we'll work on that one at the end. I just wanted you to get that part done. All right, so we're going to work through our card stack. You need your card bases folded, and we'll get moving. Okay, so for our first card that we're actually going to start working on, excuse me, we're going to put that right on the card front. So I've attached that to the card. Um, from our pieces that we stamped, you're just going to add a little bit of yellow to the one that we stamped in the orange color. And next I'm going to take this mountain and just rub some ink over top of it to give it that dimension. Once you get that inked, if you're going to add the ribbon along here, you need to do this part now. What you're going to do is figure out what section of this you want to use, and you need 4¼ inches. So I'm going to cut these last few trees off on this end, and then slide this down so that I get to my 4¼ inch, and I'm going to cut it off right here. There we go. Okay, so now that's the right width, and I can add my ribbon right to that. Okay, now about 1¼ inch up on my card, I'm going to put my mountain, and you decide where you want that sucker to fall. It really doesn't matter, but you're going to cut that circle out, and that circle is going to be the sun peeking behind the mountain. Okay, so now we're going to add our trees, and you can decide if you want to go up a little bit, down a little bit. I'm going to do it right along the end, bottom of that mountain range. So it's right along the edge there. And I needed some more birthday cards, so I stamped mine with that butterfly stamp set, and it says, "Hello, happy birthday." Then to finish this off, I just used a black journaling pen and did dash marks along the bottom. But that's it, that first card's done. Here are the pieces that come in this next card. So I have just added these bigger pieces to create the base. Then we're going to use this piece in the middle, make sure your boats are going the right way. And what I've done is I've curled it. So I used a paintbrush and kind of got the edge of the paper wet and just curled it around a paintbrush. I just take the paintbrush because it's thinner than a pencil. And you're just going to take it and wrap it around. And you want to extend your curl beyond where you think it should go because you can always tape it back, but it's hard to curl it once it's attached. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit further on this one. All right. So I'm going to add tape right now just along the center. And I'm going to uncurl it just a little bit and get this piece kind of landed where I want it to go. That's very crooked. Okay. Now, again, I'm doing a happy birthday, but this is the kind of tannish color from your pieces that were not in that part. They were kind of separate from everything else. So I'm taking this and I'm just tucking it down behind this paper. So now I know where I want to kind of extend that roll to. And I'm going to go along the bottom here and just make sure that that's kind of sticking along there too. Isn't that fun? And then to finish this off, I took my pen and did dash marks just around the light blue portion around that frame and added a little knot and white ribbon in the corner. That's it for that card. I don't know that I mentioned, so I wanted to just point out, I used the Scenic Adventure dies to create this project, and those are amazing dies. You guys, as you watch these cards get assembled, I think you're going to notice they're just beautiful, beautiful dies that are easy to use. All right, so we're going to use our paintbrush again in this upper corner, and I'm just going to, again, roll. I want to get my angle where I want it to go. And again, extending beyond where I want it to roll to. Oh, if you're going to do the ribbon, let's add that ribbon before I start taping away. All right, so I'm adding my ribbon along here. So I'm just going to tack it down on the back. That's straight. And then I'm going to cut off here. And now I can add this piece to the blue piece. So I've taken some sandpaper to both that little piece of kind of bush and grass that was in the envelope with this and that little tree that was in the beginning part. And what we're going to do, I'm going to trim off some of this bottom portion here. We want to make this a little narrower, maybe. Depends on which one you got. Mine's a little wide. So I'm just going to trim it down. And this we're going to tuck behind that ribbon. I'm going to cut this end off too. I have it go right up to the edge. A little bit more over here. All right, so that's tucking behind the ribbon like it's poking out behind there. Isn't that fun? Now, let me bring this up close so you can see. I stamped a tree there and a tree there from the Scenic Adventure stamp set. And let the journey begin from the Scenic Adventure stamp set. You do your stamping however you want to do your stamping. I just want to show you how I finish this card up. A little bit of adhesive there so that you can kind of curl that back in where you want it to go. If you get a little press, you can even tack it down even more. I used a journaling pen, did some dash marks there. I'm going to add this tree and just show you a little fun addition you can do. I didn't do any sentiments on this one yet, but I will. Okay. Um, oh, the journaling pen. So I took a journaling pen and I'm just going to I'm not doing the entire tree. I'm just kind of going down because you want to still see some of the green showing through, but you want to show also that there is some kind of foundational tree going on in there. Right, so it just gives you some more dimension. Isn't this paper amazing? I just can't get over it. Okay, so a knot there, do some sentiments, do some journaling if you want, but that card is done. Okay, so that went on the card base. We've got a little bit of curling going on in the corner here. Now here with this knot, what I'm going to do is I've got 7 inches worth of ribbon here, and I am going to knot that whole thing together. Scoot you back a little bit. All right, so we got this ring right here. Now I want about 1 inch on the top. And now, ta-da! So if you need, typically want to add, so that was 4 inches that I needed space-wise, and you want 1 inch around the back and add 1 inch for the knot, is how I got to my 7 inch mark, needing that much. Okay, so now before I add that, I just want to show you, I did add the little tree and the medium tree to this in green, and then again went through with the journaling pen and added the tree marks. Do your sentiments if you want, but I'm just going to take my ribbon with a little bit of adhesive and tack that sucker down right over here. And then this piece obviously goes on the card front that we've already started building. Adding a little more adhesive onto where I have the ribbon just to, again, help it hold. Give a nice firm press to hold that ribbon in place. Couple little dots right up on there. Ta-da, that one's done. So with this card, I've started by putting that 2.5 by 2.5 piece in the top right corner of the card. I've curled the top right corner of our beautiful patterned paper. That is going to cover the front of the card, except where we've got our green showing. Do a little trim, right? Just going to add a little adhesive there to tack that down. Now I'm going to take my ribbon, and I want it to be pretty on both sides of the front. So I'm just going to add some adhesive right here. Put my ribbon down. Do a little more tape. So it's bending backwards, pretty on the front. And then I'm going to add some foam tape to pop this up to finish that. And then I don't know if I'm missing a tree or if I skipped a tree. If you're here and you're missing it, I'll cut you another tree. There's a little tree that I added on this one if you wanted to. White dots along the upper edge, but that one's otherwise done. All right, so this one, we're going to start by adding the blue to the card front, then add the frame, add that scenery piece to the brown piece, and then we're going to just wrap some ribbon around and tie a knot. And then I'm going to scooch it down and slide it over to where I want it to be and trim these pieces up a little bit. What sentiments are you going to add to this card? Do you have something that you could put here and here like I did? Can't wait to see you, or happy birthday to you. Something like that where you can kind of break it up. And you can tape this down or you can use foam tape. I'm going to add foam tape to that one and pop that up after I stamp it. But there we go, my friends. That one is now done. And we're going to work on your amazing. Step one is to put your pattern papers down. And then we're going to rip off both sides of this paper here. And then we've got ribbon. So we need two pieces of ribbon actually for this. One that's like 3.5 inches and one that's like 5.5 inches. Or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to put tape along the back here, and we're going to do two separate, or the two ribbons separately. Oop, wrong way. So we want this to tack down on the back and loop forward and tack down on the back. Okay, so we're just creating this loop that's kind of hanging off of there. Then this one's going to thread through there. And we still want to keep the pretty sides forward. So this one, will I do upside down? I'll do that one upside down. I'm going to pull this back because I can still make a knot or something out of that on another card. So tack these down. Then I'm going to tape this whole thing up. Again, putting extra tape on top of the ribbon. Make sure that sucker isn't going anywhere. And then this is going on the front of the card a little bit further toward whichever side you decided to do the bigger paper. There were two different sized papers that I gave you there. Okay. Now I again am going more birthday themed, so my sentiment says time to celebrate. And that is going flush along the edge over here and tucking down into the ribbon area. And then I finished this off with, I sponged one of those, one of the hearts that we did and created just little clusters of hearts and bursts from the stamp set. There we go. So the first thing I did with this card is I used the stamps from the stamp set. So I used, got some glare there, there we go. Some water and the clouds and created a really light background of clouds and water on this card. You decide if you want to do that or not. Totally up to you. For the sake of the video, I'm not going to go through that work, but you get the concept, right? Okay, so I'm going to add, once you get your stamping done, or just as it is, that goes on first. Then I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to tear off the top and the bottom of it. And I'm going to attach this to the center of this bluish piece. Then I'm going to also tear off the top and the bottom of that piece. I'm going to use some of this ribbon and just wrap it around, tie a knot, add your sentiment, whatever you decide your sentiment is going to be. And then I did a double black line around the edge just to, you know, enhance it a little bit. But that will finish that card off. This next one, you're going to start by adding those two pattern pieces to either side of the card. Then rip off one side of the blue and leaving a little bit of space, you're going to add whatever sentiment you decided to put on that blue piece that we had separated in the beginning. All right, and then from here, add your piece of ribbon so you've got your spacing down. And I'm just going to tack that along the back side of the card. Trying to keep my spacing right. All right, and then just going to tear along the other edge here, using my thumb to help guide and make sure it doesn't go beyond where I want it to be. And we can add this, again, making sure I add a little more tape over top of the ribbon so that ribbon does not come loose. And then this piece is going to cover up that white open section on the card. Love, love, love it. Okay, so to finish this one off, I took that blue circle that we stamped, cut it out, and stamped a couple of hearts in the middle of it. I did white dash lines down the inside edge of that blue piece, and then added a bunch of hearts and splashes to that blue. So as much or as little as you want to do, here's a little more simple version, a little jazzed up version. So to start this card, I put the floral piece at the top, whatever you stamped on that brown piece in the middle or on the bottom. And then this green is going to go in the middle. So I'm just ripping both sides of this piece. Then I'm going to add a strip of the ribbon. Tack that down. And I'm putting it closer to one side than the other. Just want to kind of keep it straight. Okay. Tack that whole piece down, and again, making sure you're getting right along that, over top of the ribbon, right along the edge, so that that piece doesn't try popping up on you. Then that green piece covers up that middle section of white. Then I just took two little pieces. We've got our circle there. Doesn't matter if you pick the brown or the black circle. Added a couple little splashes to the middle of it. And then tucked a couple pieces of ribbon behind it under the foam tape. Ba-doom. All right, so here we've got the cardstock on the top, the pattern paper on the bottom, ribbon wrapped around the pretty floral paper. That goes in the center of the card. Okay, so there's our foundation. Then to finish this up, we're going to use that banner piece and the other circle piece, add some blue. Oh, so this is the, I don't know, one of the circles. Add some blue to it, a little heart if you want. But that's how you'll finish that card up. It's really easy. I love how these go together so fast. It's because the paper is so beautiful. Look at how beautiful this card is, right? The paper itself is just so beautiful. Very little you need to do. So I did add a couple of trees along the edge here and did that same thing with the pen just to give it a couple little extra dimension, but you'll see it adds something, but not enough that if you didn't do that, it's not a big deal. I took some ribbon, tied a knot, and then we're just going to wrap that around the back side of the card. And then this is going to go on the front of the card. Making sure I got my corners real good there. All right, so we've got our card. I'll center it a little bit. That will make me crazy. It's easier to cut off the bottom than the top. Or none at all, even better. All right, then I'm just going to angle up my ribbon a little bit more. Shorten those up. And if you need to, you can even tack them down. And then I rubbed this with the sanding block, and I might need to cut these off too. Yeah. Trim bottom of these trees off just so that it doesn't go up too high. Add some tape there. And then this is going to slide again behind that ribbon so you can't see the bottom of the paper. Hey, love it. Add your sentiment. I did little dash marks just along where you can see sky, but not where any of the trees or the land were. Add your sentiment, a couple little hearts, and that card is done. So for this card, I've taken a little bit of ribbon and wrapped it around the back, added my adhesive. That's going to go right on the front of the card. Then you can take that tree, and I'm just going to use the sanding block and reveal some of the white there to give it some texture. Doesn't it just kick it up a notch? All these little extra things, it seems silly at the time, but when you do it, it's like, wow, really does make a difference. Same thing here. I'm just going to go through and add some bark to this tree. This one's going to be a little more full, so it's got less bark till we get down to the bottom. All right, so then your tree just gets taped right to the card. And you're going to cut out one of those hearts, add some color to the heart and pop that up on there. Add your sentiment along the top. Done. This is that green piece from the beginning that you needed to stamp a sentiment on. I'm ripped one side of this floral piece, and now I'm going to attach this floral piece to the green, but I'm going to leave just a teeny tiny bit of green along the top edge. Now I'm going to, I did white on here, but I'm going to use the peach on this one. And I did a line, and then I came through and added a bow on top with, just a glue dot to hold it in place. You decide if you want to add the extra bow. You could do a knot. Bows sometimes are hard. They get a little bulky. So it really is up to you. Okay, so I add a little peach instead of the white ribbon, and I'm just going to tear along the edge there too. And then this piece, making sure I get adhesive on the edges and the corners. Lots of glue on that one. That's going to go right along the edge. So we've got a little bit of green showing at the top, the ripple of green there. If you want, you can add that little floral stamp and then color that in with the markers. How fun that is. And of course, my double journal line around the edge just to finish off the project. Now you could also add some markers to the flowers that are on the patterned paper too. Ideas? So for this card, we're going to take our sentiment and we want it to go underneath this flower. So you can still see all of the flowers. It just covers up a little bit of the vase. And then you can use your ribbon to create a fun little border that's going to overlap that sentiment piece. It's there, then the whole um, front there gets tacked down to the card. Mine was not straight. So here I did a knot. I'm going to actually do a knot separately and add the knot with a glue dot on top of there. Just another way to do it. Lots of extra tape in the corners. So this was a really simple card. Right? And just a little, I do just a little knot and glue dot it right there. That would look great. Right in there, kind of in an angle. Okay, and now our last card is the one that we started with, and my paper is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to hold off. But what you're going to do is just rub sandpaper over top of that. And then that's going to go along the edge of your card. We've got this piece here. Oh, that side's fun too. I'm actually going to have my more textured side be on the outside. Then this piece is going to go here. Again, I'm not going to tack that down yet. This piece went here. The ribbon actually only gets attached just to this piece here. There's the ribbon. Again, adding more ribbon or glue on top of the ribbon. Now this gets on here. This will go here after I sand it. That will go there. Then this banner will stamp whatever you want right on there. And that is my 16 card. I know 16 is a lot, but the paper is so pretty. There were so many different designs with the beautiful galleries paper that how do you not keep going? So I hope you enjoyed. You love the beautiful gallery paper. Make sure you get your own. Thanks for watching.